Before we start, subscribe to the channel if you care about survival history that actually teaches something instead of repeating gear catalogs. Most survival failures don't come from lack of equipment. They come from trusting the wrong equipment. Today we're talking about the gear that makes survival harder, not easier. Tools that look smart, feel reassuring, and quietly increase your chances of failure when things go wrong. This isn't theory. This comes straight from expedition journals, military after-action reports, and historical survival accounts. Again and again, the same pattern appears. People died not because they lacked gear, but because they carried gear that changed their behavior for the worse. Overbuilt backpacks that punish movement and decision-making. One of the most common killers in survival situations is weight, especially when it's disguised as preparedness. Oversized, overbuilt backpacks encourage people to carry far more than they can realistically move with. Early explorers understood this. They limited load weight not because they were minimalist philosophers, but because exhaustion kills judgment. When your pack is too heavy, every decision becomes delayed. You stop moving earlier. You push on when you shouldn't because stopping feels like failure. Historically, soldiers and explorers who overloaded themselves were slower to adapt, slower to retreat, and more likely to suffer injury. The modern obsession with carrying everything just in case directly conflicts with the historical reality that survival favors mobility and adaptability, not completeness. Multi-tools that replace skill with false confidence. Multi-tools are not useless, but they are often trusted beyond their limits. Historically, people survived with fewer tools, but deeper familiarity. A single knife carried by a traveler was sharpened daily, repaired constantly, and used for years. These days, modern survival kits often rely on multi-tools that promise dozens of functions, but honestly perform none exceptionally. This in turn encourages shallow skill acquisition. Instead of mastering cutting, carving, or repair, users assume the tool will compensate. In real survival situations, weak pliers snap, small blades fail under stress, and, well, complexity increases the chance of malfunction. The danger isn't the tool, it's the belief that it replaces experience. Synthetic clothing that fails quietly and catastrophically. Synthetic fabrics dominate modern survival gear. Yet, history shows repeated failures when conditions shift unexpectedly. Early travelers favored wool, leather, and layered natural fibers, not because they were primitive, but because those materials degraded predictably. Many synthetics insulate poorly, when damaged, melt near heat, and trap moisture in cold environments. The problem is subtle. Synthetic gear often works perfectly until it doesn't, and when it fails fast. Historical survival accounts emphasize materials that could be repaired, dried, layered, and repurposed. Gear that cannot be fixed in the field is not resilience, it's dependency. Fire-starting gadgets that reduce fire discipline. Few things illustrate this better than modern fire-starting devices. Lighters, ferro rods, and spark tools are useful, but they often remove the habit of fire conservation. Ancient travelers treated fire as a resource, not a convenience. Fires were maintained, banked, and protected, not casually extinguished because relighting felt easy. Modern gear creates the illusion of infinite fire. When a lighter fails, when fuel runs out, or when weather turns hostile, people realize too late that they never practiced keeping fire alive. Historically, losing fire was a crisis. Today, gear teaches us to treat it as disposable, and that mindset is dangerous. GPS and navigation tech, Well, they actually weaken situational awareness. Navigation tools are among the most dangerous survival crutches ever introduced. GPS devices don't just provide location, they reshape attention. Travelers stop reading terrain, stop tracking time, and stop noticing wind, slope, and landmarks. Historical travelers navigated continuously even while resting. They built mental maps, tracked shadows, noted vegetation changes, and oriented themselves instinctively. When modern navigation tech fails, users often lack the foundational habits that once prevented disorientation. The danger is not losing the device, it's losing the mindset that kept people oriented without it. Pre-packaged survival kits that discourage improvisation. Commercial survival kits promise completeness, but they often remove creativity. Historical survival depended heavily on improvisation, turning clothing into bandages, containers into tools, shelters into signal systems. Modern kits encourage checklist thinking. When something isn't included, users hesitate. They wait, they freeze. In contrast, historical survivors expected things to break, be lost, or run out. Their kits were starting points, not solutions. Any gear that discourages improvisation, well, it actually weakens survival odds. Comfort-focused gear that erodes resilience. Perhaps the most overlooked danger is comfort. Over-padded sleeping systems, instant meals, and convenience-driven gear, they all reduce tolerance for discomfort. Ancient travelers accepted hunger, cold, and fatigue as normal states, not emergencies. When comfort becomes the baseline, stress tolerance drops. Small disruptions feel catastrophic. Historical accounts show that mental resilience mattered as much as physical tools. Gear that eliminates hardship also eliminates the opportunity to build endurance before it's needed most. The real survival lesson history keeps repeating. History doesn't argue against gear, it argues against misplaced trust. The most dangerous equipment is the kind that convinces you you're safer than you are. Tools should extend ability, not replace judgment. Survival favors people who move lightly, think clearly, conserve resources, and adapt continuously. Gear that interferes with those behaviors, no matter how advanced, makes survival harder, not easier. If this kind of grounded survival history matters to you, subscribe to the channel and share this video. The most important survival tools are often the ones history taught us, and modern gear taught us to forget.